It is an emergency bonus episode of Locked On Canadiens. The rumors were trumors. Noah Dobson is a Montreal Canadien.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into this bonus episode of Locked On Canadiens. 6 episodes in 1 week, Laura. Who would have thought? We are coming to, on the heels of the Canadiens' blockbuster trade for one Noah Dobson on the eve of the 2025 NHL entry draft. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as That Maybe It's Ian. You might know my work from the Build podcast and Rabbit Habs, the blog way back in the day. And I'm joined, as I always am, by Laura Saba, also known as the Actor Stick. Laura, from Eyes on the Prize, from hockey primetime producerhood. Is this like the biggest trade for the Canadiens in how long? Like
in a long time.
Maybe going back to Subban Weber? Like maybe?
A little bit. I mean, like the Ilya Kovalchuk thing was great, but we all knew it was short-lived. It wasn't impacting the Canadiens' future like this one is, right? Like this is literally a guy where months ago we said Noah Dobson is a piece you build around. The Montreal Canadiens already had a piece they built around, right? They could build around. Now they have another piece, and now they have a top defensive pair, if that's the way they want to go, if that's the way they want to play it. Now they have 2 defensemen that they can build around. It cannot be understated that this was something the Montreal Canadiens needed, right? With all the talent that Lane Hudson has, with all the might that somebody like Arbor Xhekaj has, with all of the the strength that somebody like Jaden Struble has, that was an extremely, extremely incomplete defense. And we know this because Mike Matheson was being called upon to perform to a level that he was not meant to, right? And so having Noah Dobson, having somebody this young, with a contract that is, I want to say, $2 million less than what was being reported. Remember, a couple of nights ago, I said that's what he asked for. That doesn't mean that's what he's getting, right? To have him under contract, to give up so little for him. I'm sorry to Emil Heineman. I will miss that guy so much. I am a little bit nervous about the bottom 6, but we don't need to focus on that today. But to get all of that, this was masterful work by the Montreal Canadiens, right? And you have to note too that this is something where we're looking at other teams like Anaheim or Buffalo make extremely questionable decisions. Even Vancouver. That's it. That's the guy they want. That's who they went after. They gave up that much for that guy. The Canadiens did not give up that much for this guy.
Yeah, look, I mean, as we're recording this, the trade is not actually official. The trade is happening. We are well aware that this is going the right way. Pierre LeBrun reported a while ago that a trade call, the trade call with the league was underway. It has not been announced yet. I'm wondering why that is. We know that at least the core components of the deal are Montreal is sending their 2 first-round picks 16 and 17, to the New York Islanders, along with Emil Heineman. Unfortunately, he scored the last goal of the year for the Montreal Canadiens, by the way. So that's I know we're gonna miss him. He's going to be a great New York Islander, though. That team was built years ago to have like the best fourth lines, like back when it was like Casey Cizikas and Matt Martin and those guys. He's gonna fit right in there. I just hope that the traffic is kinder to him there than it would be in Utah. We're hoping that he can make it out of Long Island in one piece.
Well, who was the Islander that got hit by a car? I always think it was Doug Weight. Was it him who got hit by a car in Long Island as he was on his way to a game? I remember that. Right. So yeah, so like Long Island is not safe for Emil Heineman. So please, Long Island drivers, please watch out for him.
Yeah. So look, let's talk about the value in this deal and the contract that's reported to go along with it. And then in the second segment here, I want to talk about how the blue line looks next year and beyond, because I think this has ramifications outside of just their top 4. It's now becoming even more crowded back there. They added a blue liner without removing one. So it's kind of important to look into that as well. But the trade itself, I'm stunned. I am stunned that the Islanders changed their focus. They apparently were going for a young roster player for a while, and they probably weren't finding the deal that they wanted to. The report is that they have now shifted their focus and have grabbed these draft picks and a prospect, not really a prospect, a young NHLer in Emil Heineman, and they want to go up they want to move up in the draft to select James Higgins, who is a Long Island native, grew up an Islander fan. It would be a really great story for them, and he's a really great player. So, like, I get the move by the Islanders. Even with all of that being said, to not have David Reinbacher in this deal, to not have Logan Mailloux in this deal, to not have Michael Hage in this deal. These 2 first-round picks, one of them comes from the ghost of Sean Monahan. I'm stunned at what the Canadiens were able to do and sort of at what the Islanders were willing to walk away from. The rumor here as well is that Noah Dobson and Patrick Waugh did not have the greatest relationship, and maybe that soured Dobson's relationship with the Islanders as a franchise. But I think from a value perspective on the trade front, this is great. The Canadiens nailed this. Moving to the contract, we talked in yesterday or today's episode about the value of the deal as the cap goes up. And people will look at the time when we thought it was 10 million, they looked at it and go, oh, it's kind of rich. But when you look at it, when it was 10 million, that would be, worth essentially a $7.74 million contract by this cap's terms. But if you're looking at it for 27-28, when the cap is $113 million, that's 8.4% of the cap. That's equivalent to 7.39 this year, which would make him the 29th largest cap hit by a defenseman. He's paid as a low-end number 1 defenseman, which is kind of what he is. And with potential to grow into that, and watch a lot of these other defensemen who are very similar to him start demanding 11 and 12. So I think the deal itself is going to age really well for Montreal. What do you think of the player, Laura? Because I know the Islanders fans are coming out and sort of saying he's essentially the Islanders version of Mike Matheson, which I find that to be so funny because no one who has watched this player genuinely believes that. What do you think of the player in Noah Dobson and the fit on the blue line?
So here's the thing. I think, he's a couple of seasons removed from a 70 point season. I think, right? Like, if he's a 50-point defenseman, a 50-point per year defenseman, I think you're still, you're singing. And I think it's really important to note that a couple of the issues that the Islanders fans have cited against him, this is even before all the trade talk, was that sometimes he doesn't look as committed to playing physically in their own end. And I think, he's going to have to get with the program, because it's the Montreal Canadiens, and we know that they're going to place a big emphasis on that next season after that playoff run. We know that he's going to have to step it up on that front. So I don't really care, because you look at what he can bring, like that physical aspect of it. He has the ability to do that. It's just that he seems uncommitted sometimes. Well, he's going to have to suck it up and do it, right? As a player, I think it boosts the Montreal Canadiens game overall, like their offensive, their transition. And I think that's so important. And for them to have defensemen where we're not clutching the chair every time we see them with the puck, I think is just incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's the experience. Like, I think Islanders fans are in their feelings right now. They're sort of playing for the John Tavares playbook, where the second he leaves, he's a bum. But when he was an Islander, he was the greatest player on earth. So I kind of feel like that's where they're coming from. It's fine. That's what being a fan is. I'm not clowning on that in any respect. But looking into sort of the advanced numbers here. So JFresh's chart on Noah Dobson, the last 3 years of his weighted performance, his projected WAR is he's in the 83rd percentile of the league, 84th even strength offense, 76th even strength defense, power play 50%. Power play probably won't be an issue anyway, because I don't know if you heard of this guy named Lane Hudson. He's going to play all of the power play minutes. So, but it gives you a good option for power play too, right? Like Matheson's there now, sure. And maybe they decide that that's going to be for Dobson. We'll talk a little bit more about Matheson in the second segment, because I think this looms large for his future in Montreal. But look, like his numbers are great. Like, this is exactly the kind of player that every single team gets to, sort of the level where that can be a piece that puts you over the edge, and they all struggle to find this guy. And Montreal, they're not. Right. And Montreal's not at that stage yet. They're not one piece away. They're like one piece away from being two pieces away still. And that's fine. That's kind of what we expect them to be. But to
It's a
get this
rebuild.
guy, right, to get this guy now means like later on, you don't have to find this guy. So the focus now becomes on a second line center and another complementary piece to play up front. I think the defense, if it all shakes out the way it's supposed to, you're kind of good. You're kind of set. We'll have to hope that these guys develop the way that they want to. But I leave this feeling that the Canadiens have decided they want their defense to not be an issue, and they've put their flag in the ground that this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm astounded that he's available. Again, like you did mention the Patrick Roy thing. They don't necessarily get along, but why is a guy like Noah Dobson available? And not just that. The rumored package from Columbus was not the rumored package. The rumored ask from Columbus was much less than the ask from Montreal. So I don't know why. Like maybe Mathieu Darche has like a soft spot for the Habs. I don't know. But what they wanted from Columbus was definitely going to be able to propel them into that top 5.
Yep. Yeah, totally. All right. Let's leave that there. When we come back, we have to fit him into the blue line. I know it's fun talking about all of these names, especially because he fits right in with the core of this team, but there's some pieces on the back end now that might be on the outside looking in, and we'll talk about those guys in just a minute on Locked On Canadiens. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you wanted to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes all that possible. It makes buying tickets fast and easy. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, so you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. To me, the most surprising thing I noticed when I was tracking my spending, and there was 2 specific categories. It was takeout and subscriptions that were killing me. I was just getting nailed on those charges that I didn't really realize were there. Monarch Money helped me find those and sort of start to weed that out of my daily spending. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, we're back, Laura. It is time to talk about the rest of the blue line now and how he fits in. Noah Dobson fits into this scheme that the Canadiens have. Let's start with ideal partners for Noah Dobson, because it's sort of, I'm getting just like a kid in a candy shop vibe for Marty St. Louis. Like, ooh, I could put Noah Dobson with Lane Hutson. Oh, I could put Noah Dobson with Caden Gooley and David Reinbacher with Lane Hutson. I just get the vibe that like they have to be in love with the way their defense looks. Not only just next year, Reinbacher might take the step to the NHL. He might need more time, but in the years that follow, it's really exciting. Like, where do you want Dobson, or not where, who do you want Dobson to play with starting next season?
I think Gooley at first. I know that a lot of the, we just talked about the stats. I know a lot of the projections are a number 1 defenseman. This guy's a number 1 defenseman. I don't think that there's a scenario in which Lane Hutson isn't your number 1. And if you want to play someone with Lane Hutson, it has to be somebody who can do the defensive coverage, is more of a shutdown guy, right? But can also keep up with Lane Hutson. And I think David Reinbacher is that person whenever he materializes. So in that case, whether you put, and we're saying number 1 defenseman, number 2 defenseman, whatever it is, like, I think there's nothing wrong with having 2 top pairs, right?
Woe is us.
I know,
You
right?
know?
We talked about how the Washington Capitals top defensive line could not shut down the top line of the Montreal Canadiens. If you're in a scenario where you're facing an opponent like that and your top two, whoever they are that night, can't do it, just throw the other two guys out, right?
Yeah.
And I think this gives them an embarrassment of riches. And I'm not saying they shouldn't play Dobson and Hudson together. I think that's possible. I think it would be really fun to see. But I do think that both of these guys need players that complement them. And so, you could put Noah Dobson on the first line too if you want. Put Lane Hudson number 3 or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. These are just labels at this point. The Canadiens are going to have a top 4 that works.
Yeah, I really like Dobson Gooley. I don't know what it is about that pair. I think they kind of complement each other a little bit more. I think that Hudson Dobson would be really fun if you're trailing late in the third to throw out there and be like, look, we're losing. We have to pull out all the stops. Like, that's a pull out all the stops defense pair. Maybe if Dobson sort of develops that defensive side a little bit more. I know Sebastian High was ironically very high on his defensive play this year. He said he's gotten better at controlling the rush. He definitely struggled at that at times in New York. But he's just gotten better and smarter with the puck as well. But I think if he can round out the defensive aspect of his game, maybe a Hudson pairing makes sense. But I really love the idea of Gooley and Dobson playing 20 minutes a night together. Like, I feel like that is a pair that can cause a lot of issues for the other team. Now, there are a lot of defensemen on this team now. And I think focus has, to me, shifted to 2 of them. One of them who's not made the NHL team yet in Logan Mailloux, who we all kind of thought might be in these trade conversations. You've essentially drafted in Noah Dobson, the guy that you were kind of hoping Logan Mailloux would turn out to be. David Reinbacher too, to a certain extent, but definitely the offensive upside there with Dobson would be more so along the lines of what you hoped from Mailloux. He seems expendable to me now. Like, it seems like this is he has firmly transitioned into being a trade chip for the Montreal Canadiens. No?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
Essentially, what the Canadiens have said is that we're not close, but we're closer than we thought we were by making this move, right? They're saying they don't have time to wait and see if Logan Mailloux is going to turn into exactly what they want him to turn into. They're like, at this point, we need somebody who's ready to grow with the existing team. And so I think that's what they've said. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I know that a lot of fans would be upset if he gets traded. They would want him to see. They would want to see him succeed in Montreal. But here's the thing: like, I think that if he's going to have a better situation elsewhere, where he's actually going to crack an NHL lineup and stay in it, like, isn't that better for Logan Mailloux?
Yeah, I don't get the sense that that's in Montreal anymore, right? Like, I mean, let's say Reinbacher makes the team next year. Your right side is Dobson, Reinbacher, Carrier.
Yeah,
hilarious.
exactly.
Like, it's so funny how different that is from like the last game of the year when only one of those guys was right-handed. I mean, David Savard was there as well, so I can't say just one of them. But like, Hudson was playing the right side, doing it very well. But now Hudson doesn't have to play the right side. Like, that's how much better the Canadiens have made their right side.
Yeah.
So, and they have other holes to fill, right? They want to get a center.
And they need to rebuild their bottom 6 now.
It's true. I'm wondering I'm very curious to see how they do that, because they put such a premium on the way that they played their fourth line throughout the year. Like, I think they have to build something around Jake Evans that Marty feels confident being able to throw over the boards.
Yeah.
Every fourth shift, right? Like, I just think that that's important for not only the front office, but especially the coach. The coach needs to be able to do that.
Yes. And maybe that's why Jake Evans got all that money, right? People said that it was a little bit much for him, but maybe they think that Jake Evans is going to be the anchor of whatever other 2 guys they put there, right? Sorry, I did cut you off. You were talking about a right-handed defenseman, and I'm so sorry I did cut you off.
No, you're good. We're all this is exciting. It's a very exciting time to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. No one can control themselves. I am giving you grace. Right-handed defensemen are not easy to come by, especially young ones who can play offensively. Like, we know that because Montreal just traded for Noah Dobson, a guy who we didn't think would ever become available. Someone will pay a premium, maybe not a premium, but they'll give a pretty decent piece for Logan Mailloux. And maybe
Yeah.
Logan Mailloux plus gets the Canadiens another center that they can play on this team. The other guy I'm looking at is a guy that we love on this show, a guy that we constantly defend on this show, and I will go to the mat for this player. It's Mike Matheson. I think that this kind of puts an end to any extension talks for this player, if they were even taking place, because I just don't know that there's room for him at this point. Which stinks. But then, if you're the Canadiens, do you try to move him for a forward in a similar situation? Maybe a forward who's got 1 year left, and you're just kind of swapping problems with another team. Not to say that they're problem players, but they're problem contracts and that they're expiring. Do you think Mike Matheson, I'm not saying they're trading him at the draft, although that might be famous last words at the rate things are going. Do you think a Mike Matheson trade is more likely now, given what the Canadiens have done?
Yes, absolutely. Because the number one thing that we would respond to everybody who said the Canadiens need to trade Mike Matheson was, who's going to play all those minutes? Well, now they have a guy.
They found him.
Which
so that's
sucks.
why it does suck, because we love this dude, but you're totally right. We've been harping on that the whole year, is you got to find someone else to play. They did it. So
now they have
our blessing here at Locked On Canadiens. As much as it would suck, we don't want to see this guy go. You're totally right, Laura. They found the guy to do that.
And the thing is, when he does get traded, the player and his family will be sad, and so will fans like myself. I know some people won't have any, they'll be like, good riddance or whatever, not realizing the value that he's had for the years he's been a Montreal Canadien. But I won't be sad if they keep him. I just know that there's no extension to be had after this, right?
Yeah, no, and it'll be fun because the Jeff Petrie trade tree will continue to grow. That's really what I'm mostly excited about. Hey, we have a lot of people to thank as well for this Noah Dobson deal. We can thank Sean Monahan for his service in Montreal. Also, just really happy for that guy in general. Turned his whole career around. Montreal had very little to do with that. It was the player. It was the guy who pulled that off. We can thank Nazem Kadri for getting all that money from Calgary and forcing Sean Monahan over here. You can thank the current general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs for sending a first-round pick along with Sean Monahan to the Montreal Canadiens. So there's a lot of, it's funny looking back and seeing all of the conditions. And speaking of that pick, conditions, that pick is on the move again. That pick has been, that pick, the conditions on that pick are longer than whatever version of Game of Thrones was coming out next. I'm glad that that's over with. Remember how we always used to say, just let us know when they make the pick. They're never going to now. So that's also,
we don't need to be informed anymore. Also want to thank the Columbus Blue Jackets for not agreeing to the Islanders' ask.
Well, and look, it looks like Dobson wanted to be, what's that?
Twice we can thank the Columbus Blue Jackets. One for not taking Ivan Demidov, and two for not doing this trade with the Islanders, so the Montreal Canadiens could have it. Yeah, sorry, you were saying again.
We're kind of feasting on them. Yeah, yes. I think, and it was reported, we talked about it on today's episode, that Noah Dobson preferred to be in the East, and he really liked Montreal. Montreal was at or near the top of his list. He's a PEI native, so maybe he grew up a Habs fan. I don't know his life. Could be. But look, we're going to have more about this next week. We're going to have more about the draft. Montreal probably won't have a first-round pick, although maybe you're listening to this and they've moved back into the first round somehow, and we'll be able to cover that. But I think it's fairly unlikely that they decide to trade both those first-round picks and then also try to get back into the first round. I think they've come to peace with that, but we will figure that out later. We'll have draft coverage for you guys next week when we come back. So stay tuned. We will be back next week to cover off on everything else that might have happened. You can follow the show at Locked On Canadiens. We're Locked On Canadiens everywhere we're posting things. Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok. You can follow me at Maybe It's Ian. You can follow Laura at The Active Stick. Thanks so much for tuning into this special bonus episode. Enjoy the draft. We will talk to you on Monday.